Hello, America, and welcome to the 10th episode of the American Restraint podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Trepanier, and it is great to be alive. Okay, before we get going, just a little recap for those of you who are new to the show. This is a podcast about how to fix America. It is largely based on my recent book, American Restraint. I believe the country is fundamentally divided, and that the forces of hyper-individualism and hyper-capitalism are largely to blame, and the fix is federalism. As usual, I ask for your ratings, reviews, subscription, comments, and sharing this podcast. It really helps get the word out about the show. All right, let's go. So last week, we discussed why an Article 5 convention is the only option to fix America. Mostly because the other alternatives just won't work. We discussed the Progressive Paradise, the Libertarian Atlantis, and the Article 5 Convention Promised Land as the best way to fix America. Today, we're going to time travel into the future. Today, we're going to assume that the Article 5 amendments have passed. The Article 5 Convention was called in 2030, and then the states ratified amendments for congressional term limits, balanced budget amendment, and returning most federal power back to the states. So the states need to decide what to do with that power. The states have the opportunity to push back in a major way against the forces of hyper-individualism and hyper-capitalism. It's 2035, and some states are going to innovate and experiment to fight those forces. But how? I call it the Restraint Formula. The power of family, community, health, and service. We've already talked about how big, bloated, and broken our federal government is, and the Article 5 amendments, 3 of them, have addressed that problem. The power has been rebalanced, and states are more free to determine their destiny. I think one of the best descriptions of the opportunity before us was written by Justice Sandra Day O'Connor in 1991 in one of her Supreme Court opinions. This federalist structure, she said, preserves to the people numerous advantages. It assures a decentralized government that will be more sensitive to the diverse needs of a heterogeneous society. It also increases opportunity for citizen involvement in democratic processes. It allows for more innovation and experimentation in government, and it makes government more responsive by putting the states in competition for a mobile citizenry. But perhaps the principal benefit of the federalist system is a check on abuses of government power. The constitutionally mandated balance of power between the states and the federal government was adopted by the framers to ensure the protection of our fundamental liberties. If Convention of States represents the best hope for restraining our federal government, what I like to call the Restraint Formula represents hope for restraining hyper-capitalism and hyper-individualism. COS aims to restrain the federal government by returning much of governmental power and finance to the states. The Restraint Formula would seek to push down power, finance, and decision-making to an even more local level. Governmental power and decision-making should be closest to where citizens live. In other words, Boise, Idaho knows much better than Washington, D.C. what is best for Boise, Idaho. Pushing power, legislation, and incentives down to the local level rather than the national level will also provide the greatest opportunity to combat the forces of hyper-individualism and hyper-capitalism. The Restraint Formula. So what am I proposing here? It's kind of that a small state or a group of states might pursue this formula in order to best enact what Sandra Day O'Connor called innovations and experimentation that favor family and community while restraining hyper-individualism and hyper-capitalism. True conservatism True conservatism promotes the value of family and community in order to provide for human flourishing. True conservatism, while cherishing freedom, liberty, and economic opportunity, also should uphold rather than break the bonds of family and community. One of the major benefits of returning federal powers to the states and encouraging states to pursue innovation and experimentation along conservative, moderate, or even progressive means is that we can significantly reduce the constant state of divisiveness that exists in America today. If California wants to allow abortion but restrict gun laws, and Texas wants to do the opposite, why should the entire country be in a constant state of outrage about the political preferences of one state versus another in a real federalist republic? This type of state innovation and experimentation will provide a pressure relief valve to the constant battles across the country over issues that really should be addressed at the state and local level. Restraint, which encourages families, individuals, and communities to become reoriented towards a common good rather than the pursuit of unlimited, always on demand individualism. The Restraint Formula is focused on how to restrain hyper-individualism and hyper-capitalism, and it is based on 4 key pillars: family, community, health, and service. Okay, so a little bit more about the Restraint Formula and what exactly it is. Number 1, family. Family is the most important institution in society. Stable, loving families tend to produce healthy individuals, communities, and countries. But over the past 50 years, as the American family has come undone, America has become undone. Strengthening family bonds and relationships should be one of the primary goals of a Restraint Formula state. Hyper-individualism can be greatly restrained if more focus is placed on strong families rather than on individual liberation and self-exploration. So number 2, community is another key pillar of the Restraint Formula because so many of our communities are broken. Americans are now less involved in their communities than ever before, and less likely to be a member of a community organization or even to know their neighbors. A smaller, more communitarian form of government will help reestablish a culture where citizens look out for individuals and families. Number 3, health is also one of the primary pillars of the Restraint Formula. Really affordable health care for all citizens, provided by a healthcare system that is focused primarily on healthcare and not on profit. If citizens aren't healthy, they are less likely to be happy, productive members of families and communities. Number 4, and the final pillar of the Restraint Formula is service. Service is also the common thread that weaves together family, community, and health. Families are strongest when there is service from parent to child and child to parent, and from sibling to sibling. Communities are strongest when there are families, churches, and volunteer organizations giving service. Service increases happiness and provides perspective in life. So this episode kind of represents a break in the podcast that we've had from the beginning up until now, the 10th episode. Up to this point, we've really been discussing the theme of why America is broken and how an Article 5 convention is the only solution to fix America. Going forward, future episodes of this podcast are going to dive deep into this restraint formula that I've just outlined. How one state or a group of states can push back against hyper-individualism and hyper-capitalism using the restraint formula. There are plenty of other podcasts out there that promote progressivism, libertarianism, or milquetoast republicanism, but this podcast is different. We're looking at a vision in 2035 of how states can do the following: build a pro-family and pro-community culture. We'll discuss important issues like religion, consumerism, entertainment, and technology. Next, rethinking the economy to put family and community first. We'll discuss expanding the middle class and the impact of big business and Wall Street. And then the last theme, if you will, is building up poor communities through service. We'll discuss ways for communities to work together through service to make a larger and stronger middle class. Okay, so that's it for this episode, talking about the Restraint Formula, the key components of the Restraint Formula, and what some of the upcoming episode themes are going to be. Really excited about sharing them with you, and I hope you can join. So we like to take one of the themes of each episode and mix it with a great 80s song. I'm 1 year early on this one. This is a classic from 1979, from Sister Sledge, actually. They had a massive hit called We Are Family, and we definitely need more of a focus on family. This song delivers with joy and a great beat. So here's just a few lines from We Are Family. I got all my sisters with me. We are family. Get up, everybody, and sing. We are family. I got all my sisters with me. We are family. Get up, everybody, and sing. All right, so today's call to action. Check out my playlist, and also look for ways to strengthen your family, your community, improve your health, and give service. We'll definitely have more ideas on these topics in upcoming episodes. Have a great day.